Welcome to the Pixels and Perspectives Podcast Plus. As always, I'm your host, Dan, and with me today is Mr. Adam Shields.
Good to be here.
If you didn't already know, I do a podcast called Pixels and Perspectives, and this is just a companion piece for that. It's going to be videoed on the Durkin Plays YouTube channel, and today we're going to be ranking modern controllers. So, Ads, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling ready for this.
Okay. Well, first up, we have a classic. It is the PS1, PSX controller. Now, this is the one without the thumbsticks.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about this one?
I used to love it when I was little, mostly because it was very small. Because back then, I feel like if I held a controller, I wouldn't be able to use the thumbsticks.
Mm-hmm.
But
now
that we have 3D games, we kind of need the thumbsticks. And especially since I think even they kind of admitted that they needed thumbsticks like later in the life cycle.
Yeah.
Because the actual controller did eventually get the sticks.
So what you're thinking? We've got S, A, B, C, and D. What tier would you give it?
Probably put it straight down the middle in C.
C tier?
Yeah. Hasn't aged considerably well, but
We've got our first one on there, though.
yeah, still a decent controller.
I'd agree with that as well. So what we're going to do is basically congregate our scores here and then decide on the final tier when we both have our scores given. So next up, we'll go with a classic. We have the Xbox 360 controller. This one, probably one of my favorite controllers of all time, and I'm going to have to go with an S tier on this one. What about you?
See, I would say since then, Xbox have actually improved
Mm-hmm.
the controller. So I would probably put it at like a B.
So I think that would mean it's like an A tier then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm in the middle.
Yeah, go on.
I feel like it's the start of something great.
Mm-hmm.
Like they kind of refined it since and made it better and better. But this was a very good template.
That's it. This
Yeah.
is one of the biggest like influential controllers out there because we had the thumbsticks that are on like different
Yes.
things, different axes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was a game that I played Halo 3 on, and Halo 3 is one of my favorite games of all time. So yeah, I had to give it an S tier, but I think settling at A tier, that'll be good. So next up, we have the Wii U gamepad. This one's a little bit controversial, I think.
That's what made fun. Yeah.
It's a controller, but it also has a screen on it. And for games like Zombie U, you could like use the screen in the game. I don't know, like where would you put this one?
Well, really, Zombie U is the reason that I wanted a Wii U when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
But instead I got a Wii. I don't know, like it was very gimmicky, I thought.
It feels very plasticky too.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel like it's built well. So go on, where would you rank it? D?
I don't think it's dreadful. It's a neat idea,
Mm-hmm.
but as far as like regular controllers go, like regular controller any day of the day,
Yeah.
any day of the week.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I think it's
fine.
it's definitely going in the old D tier. Next up, we have GameCube. Oof. This one's a classic.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those where I remember it fondly.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not it kind of holds up to controllers now is a whole different thing.
I think that's a big theme with Nintendo's controllers over the years.
Aging poorly, yeah.
Go on, where would you put it?
Do you know what? Just for how much I love the games and how much memories I have of it, I'd probably put it at like maybe a B.
B? I
Yeah.
was gonna put it at C,
Okay.
but yeah, I can like compromise there. We'll put it at a B.
Okay.
There are worse controllers,
Mhm.
but there are better controllers, I think. Next up, we have the Xbox One controller.
Yes.
This is where they really stepped up their game. Again, I love the Xbox controllers. I prefer them to the PlayStations, where the thumbsticks are like on different like offsets. I think the original release of the Xbox One controller, the RB and LB buttons were a little bit like hard to press. I
Yeah.
don't know, but they eventually did like retcon that. But we're going off the original design here, so I'd probably give it a B.
I'd probably agree with you, to be
Yeah,
fair.
a B.
Again, it's like that whole thing of they had a good start
Mm-hmm.
and they've just gotten better and better as they go.
Yeah.
It's my Xbox is my preferred controller. I can't really get used to the whole like the sticks being on like the bottom level. Like I don't know, it just never felt right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. And I think with the Xbox controller as well, it's a little bit bigger than the PlayStation one, so
Yeah.
it's more comfortable in the hand. But speaking of PlayStation, we've got PS4 next, the DualShock 4.
Mhm.
Where would you put that on your list?
I'd say it was a horrible gimmick because of that stupid little pad that you
You've
can.
got the touchpad, you've
Yeah.
got the speaker as well, which was terrible quality. I remember using that like infamous Second Son where it would make noises when you were
Yeah.
doing stuff.
And I hate the feel of the triggers.
Mhm.
That's one thing about PlayStation that I despise. It's the same with everyone.
Yeah.
The controllers, the triggers always feel dreadful.
They don't really do triggers well, especially the PS3 one. We'll
Yeah.
get to that. But yeah, what we're saying then. C tier, I think I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
C-tier.
that's pretty good.
Next up, we've got the Steam controller. I've not personally used this one. I don't know about you.
I don't think many people have personally used this one.
I just had to put it on there because it's funny. It looks uncomfortable.
It does. I remember we talked about this a while ago, how it's at like a weird angle when you hold it.
It's like a concave shape.
Yeah, but I do like the idea of like using your thumb as like a mouse,
Mhm.
which I think it sort of does.
Whether or not that
but-
works in execution, though,
Yeah, that's the thing. If it works for people, they would have kept making them.
and didn't.
They didn't.
So what we're saying, D tier for that one.
Yeah.
Even though we've not used it, D tier. Next up, we have the Nintendo 64. This one's, again, it doesn't really hold up. It's Nintendo. It's got three handles. Which
Yeah,
I don't understand.
I never understood that. I kind of get like, you hold it one way for 2D,
Mhm.
you hold it another for 3D, I guess.
But does it hold up?
It
where,
doesn't.
where you putting it?
I'd put this probably as the lowest Nintendo controller, to be honest.
Ooh.
I know a lot of, again, it's one of those I have kind of like fond memories of,
Mhm.
but I
We're
think,
seeing D tier.
yeah, just because I enjoyed playing like Perfect Dark doesn't mean I love the
Mhm.
controller. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So next up, we have the Xbox Series controller, the Series
Yes.
X, Series S. This is, in my opinion, I know I said the 360 one was the greatest controller ever made, but I take that back. It's the Series X. This is the best controller
It
I've ever
is.
used.
it's the most comfy.
Mhm.
It sort of fits. It fits my hands perfectly anyway.
Yeah. It's slightly smaller, I think, than the Xbox One controller. The buttons
Yes.
are a little bit closer together. It's got a textured back as well,
Mhm.
which is cool. And you can get it in like loads of different colors, which is always a
I
bonus.
want that translucent blue one. It looks so good.
So we're seeing S for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say for me, it's near perfect.
Cool. So next up, we have the PS3 controller, I think.
Yes.
The triggers in this one were awful.
I own a PS3, so I've used one like fairly recently.
Mhm.
And I had to buy two controllers and Frankenstein them together and fix the trigger like from the inside out.
Yeah.
And it's all like weird springs and just stupid stuff like that. It's when you hold the controller itself, it feels hollow and plasticky
Mhm.
and like a toy. And it's dreadful. It's genuinely really bad. At the time, I don't remember like thinking it was bad, like back in the PS3 days.
Yeah.
But the fact that like they had to release like 3 different versions of it, there was the 6-axis, the
Uh-huh.
DualShock, and then the DualShock 6-axis, so it had it together.
Did you ever use that like motion control stuff on the PS3?
I remember specifically playing Uncharted.
Right.
You had to use it to balance if you were like walking on like a plank or something.
Oh, what I do remember about this controller is playing Last of Us, where you had the flashlight, you'd have to
You had
shake
to
it.
shake it, yeah.
Yeah, and that was the whole thing. But for me, this one's probably D tier.
Yeah, it kind of feels like they try and do what Nintendo does, but
With the gimmicks.
yeah, but they are even somehow worse than what Nintendo
Yeah.
does.
So where would you rank it?
Oh, probably D.
Probably D as well. I was
Yeah.
saying higher than Wii U. Or
Yes.
yes, okay. I don't know if that's going to work yet. Next up, we have the Nintendo Switch, the Joy-Cons. So we're including just controllers that came with the console
Yeah,
here,
so
no
Pro controllers
or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Joy-Cons, I think in theory, they're very good. It's cool how you can play like Mario Kart with 2 Joy-Cons that come with the Switch. Like you can just turn it on its side, but they're very small and I wouldn't say they're comfortable to play with for long periods of
They're
time.
not. Maybe if you feel like a baby, you've got like tiny hands, possibly. But I don't know, like, especially because you hear like stuff about like stick drift and how badly they're affected. And to fix it, you have to literally like open up and fiddle with wires, and nobody wants to be doing that.
Yeah. So where would you rank them?
Oh,
I would say, as a person who doesn't like vibration in their controllers, I always turn vibration off. The vibration in the Switch Joy-Cons is like the best version of vibration. Like the motors are really cool, I think, in that one. And I'd say probably B tier for me.
Yeah, again, I think it's more the idea. I think that I like the idea of it being connected to the console.
Yeah,
You take them off, and you can obviously just.
that's that.
I like that.
So we're saying better than GameCube or worse?
Better
Better than
because it's
GameCube.
newer and it's easier to use. And,
Okay.
yeah.
Next up, we have the Duke, the Xbox original, the
Oh.
Duke controller. It's a big giant thing. It had a black and white button
Nobody has big enough hands
to hold this.
What were they thinking with that? That's what I don't understand. Like,
God knows.
I don't get what the idea was with that.
Where would you rank it?
I much prefer the smaller one.
Mm-hmm.
This for me is like, as much as like I love it to the point where I actually bought one because I have an original Xbox. I'll never use it, but I bought one. I would probably still put it at the bottom.
Yeah, bottom, so below N64.
It's unusable. It's
no, I agree with that. Let's put that one at the bottom.
Everyone has the small Xbox. Everyone had to get the small controller.
Yeah, because it's not great.
It's not,
is it?
yeah.
Next up, we have the PS2 controller, a classic. I think it's better than the PS3 controller because the R2 and L2 are like actually connected to the console.
Yeah, it's strange because I know I kind of like dunked on the PS3 controller a little bit, but this to me is like the invention of the modern controller.
Yeah,
this is like what I think of when I think of like actual full-on controllers now.
It's wired as well, so you don't have to worry about running out of battery. I think that was a big problem with the PS4 controller. It would just die because it had that big giant light on the back of it.
Which I never understood either. I never got that.
Didn't have any gimmicks.
No.
It was a solid controller. Obviously, we were kids, were more playing this, so our hands were a little bit smaller, so maybe there's some bias there, but I'd probably give this one a B. I'd say just past the GameCube controller. I think it's better than the GameCube controller.
I'd completely agree with you. Yeah.
Okay, right. Then next up, we have the PS5 controller, the DualSense, I believe it's called.
This, in my opinion, is the worst controller ever made. I despise this controller. I hate the DualSense idea. I hate the weird touch ball thing in the middle. I hate the texture. For some reason, I feel like my hands get really hot holding it, and I don't know why.
Okay.
For long periods of time, it doesn't work, to the point that I spent £200 on a Razer controller because it's shaped more like an Xbox controller. I despise this controller with just my entire being.
So
I hate it.
it's safe to say you're going D tier with this one.
If there was a worse tier, I'd put it in that.
F. We'll make a new tier for that. I think it's not a terrible controller for me personally, but I don't like it as much as the Xbox Series controller.
This just kind of, I feel like it piles gimmicks on
It
top
is.
of gimmicks.
It is. You've got the Astro Playroom thing that came with the PS5. It's like to showcase the things inside it. And sure, the Rumble motors and features in there are cool, but again, I don't play with Rumble on. I don't play with vibration. So again, I don't like that stuff. So that brings it down in my like estimation. And does it need the touchpad in the middle? Does it need the speaker? Probably not.
It also has that weird tension thing that makes it impossible to pull down the triggers.
With the triggers, yeah, I hate that. I remember playing that with Spider-Man, and I had to turn that off because it's like, why would you want to make it harder to press a button? Not for me, that one. But I'm going to say it's probably C tier. Okay. So with you ranking it as the worst controller ever and me saying C tier, I think we'll put it in D tier, but we'll put it in like high D, so better than the PS3 controller. Yeah. I'm going to put it.
Would you say, is it controversial to see the PS5 controllers like?
Yeah.
Is it?
Worse than like the Duke. I would say it is. And last but not least, we have the concept controller for the PlayStation 3. This was the Boomerang.
Yes.
I don't know if you're familiar with this one, but it's like, I don't know how to describe it. Just look at the image. Yeah,
it's one of those ideas where I'm so sad they never did it.
I'm going with S for this one.
Oh, yeah.
I think this would have been the best controller ever created because if you were to throw it, it would come back to you. What more do you want?
What more do you want? Yeah.
What more do you want? It didn't have a touchpad. It didn't have a speaker. It had just like start and select. And one thing I hate with new controllers is options now. There's no like start.
Yeah.
And there's always a capture button. Where's select? Just give us select. But yeah, what about you for the Boomerang? Where are you putting it?
I find it kind of sad that they had like this new idea, this new concept. And before it was even out, people had such a negative reaction to it that they kind of just went back and just did the same thing again,
Yeah.
but added like 6-axis. Really sad that it never happened. I don't know. Like, I kind of wish that they released like they're doing like those special edition Dukes that you can get, like where it's got like the OLED
They
screen.
should do that for the PS5.
Yeah.
That'd be so sick.
Like, just let people use it. Like, I still remember this was back when the PS3 was going to be silver. I'm assuming. So
Yeah,
I'm sure it was just a silver prototype.
Silver controller. So what do you think
sad.
then? I've put it in S.
I would completely agree with you.
So it's going in S tier.
I can just imagine like a future where that controller came out and like there's like flying cars and
the same future with the Xbox
perfect.
720 as well.
Yeah.
Well, that has been our controller tier list. I hope you've enjoyed watching. I hope that everyone agrees with that. If you don't, let us know in the comments below. And be sure to check out the Pixels and Perspectives podcast on all of the good podcasting apps. As always, I've been Dan.
I've been Adam.
And we'll catch you in the next one.